You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
Ian, look at this.
What, it's a police box. What on earth is he doing here? I mean, these things are usually on the street. I feel it. Feel it, you feel it?
It's a faint vibration.
It's alive.
Earth Station Who, a fun mashup celebrating nearly 50 years of Doctor Who universe. Hold tight. You never know where the TARDIS is going next.
Who are you?
I'm glad you asked that again. Bit of adrenaline, dash of outrage, and a hint of panic knitted my brain back together. I know exactly who I am. I'm the Doctor. Sorting out fair play throughout the universe. Now please, get off this planet while you still have a choice.
Hey there, and welcome to another episode of Earth Station Who. We've made it. This is it. The final. The Timeless Children. Part 2 of the season finale. And folks, we are in for some big discussions tonight. And we got a great crew to talk all about it. And if you haven't seen this episode, why are you listening to us? Come on. You know, we're going to spoil the heck out of this one, and we got a lot to talk about. So put us on pause, watch 70 minutes of Doctor Who, and come on back. We'd love to hear from you guys. And speaking of hearing from you guys, please write us at earthstationwho@esonetwork.com. We definitely would love to hear what you guys thought about this episode. And, you know, what are your thoughts on the season? We're going to be asking you for that at the end of the show anyway, so might as well put it out there right now. Let's say hey to this week's crew. Of course, Mr. Mike Gordon's here.
Howdy.
How are you, sir?
I am peachy keen and ready to discuss the finale.
Wow, he has a little kick in his step tonight. This is awesome. You know, because it was like, oh, God, I hope Mike Gordon likes this. God, I hope he's... So this is my new mantra with watching Doctor Who.
That's not something you should ever think about. And we'll see.
Okay. And, of course, we have Mary.
Hi, everybody. It is sort of great to be here, except sad. Last Doctor Who. Boo-hoo.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. This is like, we're going back into the wilderness.
Yes, for
exactly.
a long time.
It's really not that long. A little more than a year.
No, not. We're getting new Doctor Who at New Year's.
Oh, that is true.
Yeah, we're getting it at New Year's.
For another season.
It's a one-off.
A little bit longer.
Special.
Yeah, then we're probably going to have to wait another year for another episode. So, of course, we heard Felicity. She is back with us. Welcome back, Mayor.
Thank you. Good to be back.
Oh, it is actually, you know, it was perfect us talking about it all together last week when we did the Cybermen story. Mm-hmm. And I was like, we just had to keep the chemistry going and everybody here. It was proper instead of having somebody else going, so what did you think of last week's episode? Tell us, you know. So we already know what we thought. And we'll be talking all about ratings and everything. I think we'll rate this all as one, though, tonight.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense.
Yeah, especially since, as I feared, the watching this one made this first part just meaningless.
No, you're completely right.
I don't even know why there was a part one now.
No, exactly.
Frankly, I think part 1 was better than part 2.
Okay, let's jump in with both feet.
Mm-hmm. Spoiler alert. I did not like this episode.
Oh.
Wow. This is coming from Mary.
Yeah.
And it's not because of him changing canon or anything like that, because I never care about that. It's because he did it in such a clumsy and convoluted and not even really very interesting way.
Okay. Well, there we go, folks. That's the episode. Good night.
I would say Mary liked it more than I did, but no, just kidding.
Ow.
Actually, you know what? I'll say I'm still actually undecided. I haven't got a chance to watch it again. I don't know if I want to watch it again. It's kind of a mess, and I think if I watch it again, I'll kind of side more along Mary's side, with not liking it a lot. So I'm kind of like clinging to the parts that I do like a little bit. But yeah, I don't know. It's not a clear winner or loser in my mind.
Right.
A lot to digest, and yeah.
No, completely understand that. And it's going to be very interesting to watch it again, because I was like, there was parts I was like, oh, this is cool. This is awesome. And then there were other parts like, what the hell are they doing? And, for me, seeing the Cyber Time Lords was like watching Cyberbrig all over again.
Oh yeah.
I was just like, what the? Oh, I want to curse. I so wanted,
Cyber goons.
Yeah, it was just like, no. And for them, even, they should just look like Cybermen. They didn't need to be in the frippin' robes with the high collars.
Oh my
It
God,
was
the
like,
collars. Whose idea was that?
it was like, oh, we have to identify them as Gallifreyan, so let's give them the high collars there.
Oh my God.
I was
Okay.
just like,
I'm not gonna defend them, but I'm just gonna say that I liked the Cyber Time Lords. I thought that they kind of, like, if I was collecting action figures, I'd be like, oh, that would be a cool action figure to have. But I will say,
coming to you from Funko Pop next year.
I thought we had the makings of a decent Cybermen story in part 1. Like, once once the Master comes in, it's not a Cyberman story at all. Like, it's just like he just eclipses everything that is Cybermen, really, and
not in a good way.
No, not in a good way at all. Like, now it becomes one of the least interesting Cybermen stories that I've ever seen. Like, it's just is like, it's like they didn't even. It's like kind of insulting to, like, the Cybermen are interesting, and the Cyberium is kind of an interesting concept, but they just. There's no equality there. There's no partnership. They're just tools of the Master. And I think the Cybermen are better than that. They're not minions. They shouldn't be treated as such.
They should never be.
Ashad is actually kind of an interesting character as a villain. I was actually kind of looking forward to getting to know more about Ashad and his backstory. We learned nothing.
Oh, right. Yeah, he just gets shrunk and done.
Yeah. He just goes away.
He is. And he had
he becomes an action figure.
Exactly.
Yes.
He had a great three episode arc, I looked forward to seeing, oh, he's going to be the new big bad with the Cyberman, and the Master took him out just like that.
I will agree that the Cyberman part of the story falls down, but on the whole, it sounds like I liked it a lot better than any of you. I was really quite pleasantly surprised by the way, at least the Timeless Child Gallifrey story worked out. I know that last week I was quite concerned about there being kind of an explicit link from Gallifrey to Earth and hinting that humans became Time Lords, but that was pretty definitively set aside. And
thank God.
I think that the story they came up with while maybe not the most fascinating thing I've ever heard, was definitely an interesting twist. And I had, I went to bed thinking about it. I woke up still thinking about it. It definitely resonated with me in ways that I'm still trying to figure out. And so that my first impression when they show the original Gallifreyan explorer who finds the Timeless Child, and they talk about them traveling together, and at first I thought that she was going to turn out to be the Doctor and the Timeless Child was Susan. There was just something about like that relationship of the two of them traveling
that would have been
more
awesome.
Interesting.
Yeah,
that it evoked Susan to me. But then it became clear that the Doctor was going to be the Timeless Child. But I'm kind of okay with that, and I don't think it necessarily has to affect everything from now on. It's kind of an added wrinkle to the backstory, and I like that they allowed Ruth to come into it without really giving us an answer. I liked the Doctor's conversation with with the Ruth Doctor in the Matrix when she's like, I'm just as confused as you are right now.
Oh, and I loved it, and I loved what Ruth said to her.
Yeah.
When has your past ever defined who you are?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the whole series. Because the Doctor is always about moving forward, about, going and becoming, each identity, each regeneration is a different personality.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was always coming from that point of view. And I think that tied it all together right there.
I think this is, Jodie's best performance.
Oh, God,
so
yes.
far. There's so much that she has to deal with, and her, her realization that, the Ruth Doctor is right, that she is, that they are the same, and that whatever her history, she knows who she is, was very powerful. I also, while the current master has kind of not been entirely satisfying to me, I did buy that what upset him the most was knowing that the Doctor really was better than him, that the Doctor was part of him, and that he just couldn't deal with that.
Of course. I still don't buy the whole thing, him destroying all of Gallifrey like that.
No, that was... And even when he miniaturizes Ashad and says, oh, I thought maybe the death particle would come out and destroy everything. And he's like, I would have been okay with that. That was a pretty dark direction for that to go in. He's like, he's just destructive now. He just wants to destroy everything, even if it means destroying himself.
Yeah, I mean, look, I can't criticize the Master's actions or plan or lack thereof, because he's, to be honest, the character's always had crazy plans.
Yeah.
It just, you can't assign any sort of logic to what he's done, and that goes all the way back. So to try to look at it logically, I've seen people online going, well, that doesn't make sense. Why would the Master do that? I'm like, well,
right.
Well, it's not supposed to make sense.
Exactly.
When has the Master ever made sense?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. If you know anything about the Master, he just doesn't it doesn't make sense. I mean, he is he is a great tool for writers who just don't give a crap about plot, because
going back 2 seasons, I still don't understand what the Sim Master was doing with the Mondas Cybermen, to be honest. So
yeah, right.
This wasn't any different than that. This made even a little more sense, perhaps.
And so the fact that, he's so mad that, he destroys all of Gallifrey, it's like, that seems to be definitely in his wheelhouse. Now, the ability for him to be able to do that, I kind of question. And taking the characters out of it, but going behind the scenes, why Chibnall and company felt the need to destroy Gallifrey, I don't understand. To me, especially with this realization that the Doctor is not originally from Gallifrey, makes it even more interesting if we could have Gallifreyans there now to confront her, or to work on that story idea. But instead, they're not there, so it just felt a little empty to me as far as that whole thing. And I like the idea. I certainly don't mind adding to character history or retconning stuff or whatever, but to me, it has to add something. It has to inspire new story ideas. Mm-hmm. And to me, this sort of, it doesn't. It sort of actually does the reverse to me. It does. I don't see what this realization and what these actions could be used for in the future. Well,
Chibnall was just watching Brains of Morbius, trying to figure out an answer for this. How should I end this season for the time?
Okay. Can I say out loud and publicly that all those people that are saying, "Oh my God, they finally fixed a 44-year-old plot hole," let me just point out that the incident, the flashback in the Brains of Morbius thing, where they hook up to the machine and we see all the former regenerations, that's not a plot hole.
Right.
It wasn't a plot hole then. It's still not a plot hole. It might be now a continuity error, but that is completely different than what is defined as a plot hole. Like,
Agreed.
And I don't think anybody out there was like, man, I hope they do something about that someday.
Well,
I'm sure there was somebody.
I know at least one Doctor Who author of the books who was always convinced that the Morbius Doctor, that those faces were past doctors, and that's Lance Parkin.
I think that there's always been some people that have liked the idea that there were doctors and regenerations prior to the first Doctor.
I also think Philip Hinchcliffe likes it because that means he was the Doctor at one point. he was he was the producer at the time, and he was one of those faces.
I don't know.
It's just it feels too much like I don't have a problem with retconning or with changing quote unquote canon or any of that. I don't have a problem with the showrunner bringing their own thing in, but they have to do it well. And I don't feel like Chibnall does it well.
No,
I feel
he
like
shoehorns it.
Yeah, or he just kind of throws stuff at the wall and sees what sticks. It doesn't hang together as a coherent whole, and there's too much going on because he doesn't know what to do. So he just hides that with a lot of action. It just feels clumsy to me. And
like I said, it was.
Go ahead.
It was much better than I expected. I think, it's not perfect. I think he's not as skilled a writer, certainly, as maybe previous showrunners were, but I have more confidence in him after this season, certainly, than after the previous season.
That I agree with.
Well, yeah, I agree with that too. I think this season was better than the other season.
No, I agree completely with that. And it's interesting because, I still have tons of questions and I don't want them answered. That's the thing. I like not knowing every single instance of the Doctor's past. And, even she said it in this episode, so I was you. Why did they then, make me regenerate again as a child? And it's obviously, and that's what they did, the whole, what we know about the Doctor, because, she grew up on Gallifrey. That's where she went to school with the Master, blah, blah, blah. And then she became she was Hartnell's doctor at that point. And the whole thing with Susan and, leaving Gallifrey. And maybe she left Gallifrey as, with Susan to avoid getting her memory erased and having to go through the regeneration again. And that's obviously what they were showing last week in Ireland, and everything.
That was still sat a little bit weird with me. It's like, okay, so they covered it up in the Matrix and made it look like something ordinary, but why that specific, why Ireland, why that specific? Like,
that I'm with Mary on that. That was so clunky and unnecessary and just, it was almost like Chibnall's like thinking like, oh, I'm like, people are, I'm being so grand and clever. And I'm like, no, you're not. It just,
well, you're just repeating things really.
Yeah.
Like Tecteun, she's Rassilon, but it's Rassilon with Tecteun's face plastered on her. I mean, and you know what? It frosts me because I feel like when things like that happen, and this has happened a lot in this season, is that they okay, we're going to change this character to a woman, give her a different name, but that's who she really is, and that's representation. No, it's not. It's just switching of people around isn't representation. Representation is honoring and respecting experience and giving voice to untold stories, not just pasting a new face over an existing one.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from.
No, I agree with that completely, Mary.
Yeah, I mean, they went out of their way to make sure that we, all the regenerations, the early regenerations of the Timeless Child, none of them are white dudes.
Right.
And then I'm just, again, I'm kind of just trying to figure out, not logic, but just sort of, okay, so the Time Lords, let her, the Timeless Child, exist, and they would keep wiping her memory and yet still call her the Doctor. It just, like, and still give her a TARDIS that's shaped like a police box. I'm like,
that's not sitting well with me right there.
Yeah. Well, that. Yeah.
I'm like, it doesn't. Yeah, and then a lot. And look, I get it, because I think what Chibnall's going for is sort of the same thing that we got successfully, I might add, or in my opinion, from Into the Spider-Verse, which is that anybody can be Spider-Man, right? Anybody can be the Doctor. Like, I like the idea, but again, the execution, because on the one hand, he wants to have his cake and eat it too. He's like, on the one hand, she's special. She created, like, it, because of her, a whole race of, Time Lords were able to do what they did because of her, because of this timeless child. But yet, the Doctor can be anybody. And I'm like, it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't.
Well,
you can't have it both ways.
Mikey, that also truthfully goes back all the way to when the Time Lords made the Doctor regenerate to the second to the third Doctor, and you didn't see what the Doctor looked like, because obviously they hadn't hired Pertwee at that point to be the Doctor. You didn't even know if Doctor Who was coming back at that point, so they wanted you guess who the Doctor was, and they were showing all the different faces and everything, and going, anybody could be the Doctor, and that's kind of what they were trying to do in some way or another in this episode. The Doctor's gone through God knows how many regenerations now, that it could be, your best friend could be the Doctor in one of the regenerations, and going all the way through his life or her life, and then starting over again and over and over and over again. And it didn't make any sense why they were doing that.
Yeah, they were saying, I've seen people, fans saying, okay, great, that all this stuff on Big Finish now counts as, like, real Doctor stories. The Peter Cushing movies now can be considered like real Doctor stories. I'm like, no, that's no.
But along those lines,
this is supposed to work.
You could always consider those stories to be part of Doctor Who. It's up to you how you fit them in, and I don't think this changes that.
Yeah, I don't think it really changes that either.
To me, it's like the Star Trek thing of, like, oh, well, in the 60s, we didn't have the makeup to do the Klingons like we can do now. And then later on, they have ridges. And then we do a flashback, and some of the Klingons, like, have ridges and some of them don't. And then we need an explanation for that. So let's really try to come up with a weird sort of explanation as to why that happened. Like, it's just, you don't
really need an explanation.
Right. You don't need an explanation for
because
that.
People have imaginations, and they can fill it in themselves.
Exactly. We all, like, the flashback. I think a lot of people liked having, that flashback in Brain and Morbius, just because they were like, oh, we could think about it and everybody could come up with their own thing or whatever. And now it's like, nope, it's canon. I don't know. It just seems like it's a lot of effort for very little reward. And I don't know, I think if they don't follow up with anything, then it was, to me, not really worth exploring. And if they do follow up with it, it's like, that's not what the show's about. The show's not about, let's find out what the Doctor is.
Yeah, I think it works better, not that anyone can be the Doctor, but that the Doctor can look like anyone, but their core remains the same. Their core need to save the universe, however you want to state that. No matter what the superficial personalities are on top of it, or what the visuals are, doesn't really matter.
Always the Doctor to the core.
And we still don't know. We still don't know exactly where that came from. Especially considering, at least very early on in the Doctor's life, they were abused and experimented on and lied to, and, part of a very, like, really horrible
experiment.
Yeah.
Horrible childhood.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was a lab rat, basically.
Yeah. That's what I think. So from the beginning of, like, this, the hinting that, things are about to change, at the beginning of the season, that we're going to learn something new about Gallifrey, I kept thinking back to the Sylvester McCoy era and the Cartmel Master Plan, and how, the Doctor was supposed to actually be like one of the secret figures at the founding of Gallifrey. And that didn't sit right with me, because I wanted to think of the Doctor not as this kind of all-knowing figure, but as, who we've always known the Doctor to be. And this, to me, it's as big of a change, but to me it fits the Doctor's personality better, that the Doctor was never in control. The Doctor, in fact, has been manipulated for a lot of their life. And
been exploited.
The fact that they can rise above that is inspiring.
It does, I mean, kind of explain one thing, it does kind of explain to me is why the Doctor's had so much leeway in terms of the time.
Oh, yeah.
Even so far as, we've seen in the Doctor's history where he's been punished by the Time Lords time and time again, and yet, he's made president. And he's, so it's like, yeah, like that seems like kind of an odd thing, but this sort of kind of explains why that might be something that they, we can't kill him.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Well, in a way, it's kind of nice to know that just like humans, Time Lords also don't know what the hell they are doing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of sad. I mean, look, is this the last time we see the Time Lords in Gallifrey? I don't think so, because anybody with any sort of imagination can come up and bring them back again.
Yeah.
Chibnall doesn't bring them back. The next person probably will.
Well,
they're trading off now. RTD destroyed it. Moffat brought it back. Chibnall destroyed it.
I was going to say I fully expect Chibnall will not bring them back,
right.
But then the next showrunner will bring them back some way, right? So, but just the idea, we just got them back. And for Chibnall to go, nope, they're gone. Like, it just seemed kind of empty to me. Like, it just seemed like it didn't really matter. Like,
too soon.
I don't.
Well, and it was kind of cold because, you found out, he destroyed Gallifrey, but he had all the bodies of all the Time Lords in chambers, in suspended animation and everything. And then they set off the particle, destroys anything flesh on the planet. It's like, they're gone.
Yeah,
that was pretty thorough, wasn't it?
Do we know that they're gone now? I have a feeling there was an implication that the Master and the Cybergoons got away.
I don't think
we know the Master.
The Master always gets away.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, does that mean, I hope to God, please, don't let us be chasing them all next season.
Oh, God.
No, let's have a break from that, from the Master.
Yeah. And, oh, God, too many people were like, oh, he's the Joker now. That's right. It's like, no, he's the Master. Watch 57 years of Doctor Who. Come on.
Yeah, I didn't get a.
I do like the performance, but it is hard to place this or reconcile this with Missy and the progress that she seemingly made in terms of.
I'm still
her evil.
I agree.
Ways.
This seems more like this seems more in line like a lot of the Masters that we've known before, including the John Sim Master.
Mm-hmm.
Then, I mean, Missy was really a unique take on the Master, and not just because it was female, but because she seemed to learn and almost become an ally at times,
right? Even to the point of killing her previous self.
Yeah, absolutely.
If we hadn't seen Sim again, I would have liked to have this Master turn out to be between the two of them, because it would kind of make sense. Because at the end, in the end of time, the Master goes back, or he stops Gallifrey from being restored, and disappears along with it. So that could have been or even during the war, that could have been the time that the Master discovered this about Gallifrey. But if we're opening up the timeline of the Doctor, we can't worry too much about the timeline of the Master. It's never really been very consistent since the new series.
Yeah.
No, agreed. The thing is, I'm still saying it would almost make more sense that this master is right after the sim master.
Yeah.
And that maybe he then, regenerates into Missy. It would kind of be fitting in some ways.
It would be, but it doesn't
Yeah,
seem,
but I don't think that's
in,
what's happening.
in
Yeah, I
the
don't think
Capaldi's
that's what's
finale,
happening.
it doesn't seem like that would work.
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe, who knows? I mean, the last time we saw the Master, it was Missy and the John Sim Master. So maybe Missy actually died and the John Sim Master regenerated into this one. So I don't know. I mean, there's like, yeah, we're just, sort of.
We're just making things up.
There. But I will say this. I mean, I like Sasha, I know as an actor. But there was just something, I don't know if it was the writing or the directing or what, but all throughout this season, I just didn't feel like he had much chemistry with Jodie.
Oh, I felt the opposite.
Did you? I'm glad you did, because I just didn't feel it. It just felt like he kept yelling at her, and that was his, like, he only had one volume, and just to yell at her, and she just was, there were times where she was just quiet, and I was like, man, that's a weird choice, because the Doctor is like, the Doctor may be a lot of things, but quiet is not one of them. And I don't know, maybe it was just to sort of take in the enormity of finding out what she was, but it just seemed like there was a quietness to her that I don't know, I just didn't know what to make of it. I
think, intentionally or not, it kind of, like, the gender dynamic between them is interesting, and I feel like when they get close, when the Master gets close to the Doctor, it's particularly sinister. But maybe that's just me reading into the dynamic between
the two of them,
between a male Master and a female Doctor.
I guess looking at the last couple that we've had, with Peter and Missy and even, David and John Sim, I thought they had chemistry together.
You actually felt like they were friends at one time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did. I didn't really get the sense that these two ever had a deeper connection.
No, I definitely.
I mean, if you did, that's cool. I mean, that's just the way
it worked for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish it had worked for me. But I mean, I've made no secret that I don't like this Master. We've talked about him at other times too. But I don't, and maybe that is part of something that bothers me about it, that sort of gender dynamic. I mean, I can't help but approach it, from my own experiences, intimidating men.
Yeah.
So, and
the fact that he spends all this episode, mansplaining where she
that's exact. Yes. Yes. I was going to bring that up. That's exactly what happens.
But I find her, her response to that, very, how could you think that this would make me less? It made me more.
Yeah.
That was really powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I do like the scene between her and Ruth, as you were saying. I mean, that was an important scene, and I'm glad it was in there.
I think that was one of the best scenes of the whole season, the scene between her and Ruth this year. And I just thought it was powerful, and the Doctor was lost, and Ruth pointed her in the right direction. And it's like, and Ruth was even saying, this is what I would do, type thing. And since you're me, type thing.
Yeah.
The only thing about it is, to me, it takes a little bit of agency away from Jodie. Like the fact that she has to be reminded of who she is. Like I just especially if it's a younger version of you. Like I can't imagine a teenage version of me actually telling me something that oh yes, that makes it. I mean, but
that's exactly what a teenage version of you would do.
Exactly.
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
The teenage version of you would say, "Look, Boomer, come on."
Yeah.
But I'd be like, "Look, you little snot! You don't know anything."
Right. Well, and a new Doctor often does have to grapple with, especially I think of Capaldi at the end of his first season, really kind of redefining or coming to terms with who he is. I'm not a good man. I'm not a bad man.
Yeah.
So maybe it just came a little later for Jodie than with other doctors.
Yeah, I find that through the run of even this season, I find that she has glimpses. I have glimpses of who she is as a doctor, but it's not as defined as some of the other actors that have played the doctor.
Yeah, I will. I'll still agree with that.
And I think I think out of everybody, she's gotten like the shortest stick of everybody. Like I just think I feel bad for her in a lot of ways, because I think she's so much better than the material that she's been given 99% of the time. And this season I've started to see backlash against her. Like, a better, a more charismatic actor would be able to save this material or rise above this material or whatever. And I just think that's just so unfair.
Yeah. I mean, I pay so little attention to what other people say, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, I don't subscribe to it, but it's hard for me to ignore at times. It's like, I see that because before it was like, I like her, I just don't like the stories. Mm-hmm. But then all of a sudden it started to become, and I didn't see that happen with like, Peter or something. I saw people like going, I like Peter Capaldi, but I just can't watch the show anymore.
I've gotten plenty of people that said, I can't stand Capaldi. And
but they said that from the beginning.
No, even after the first season. And, I can't stand what Moffat's doing. I can't, handle that, and, Capaldi is such a mean doctor. I can't do that, bring back Matt Smith or bring back Tennant, I'm not going to watch that till he's gone. And now Jodie's here and I want to see if those people are back or not. Come on,
Yeah. I mean, I will still say, as much as I did not like this episode, there were parts of it I liked, but Jodie was great. Jodie is always great, and and I think she did sell the material as much as she could.
I think so too. I think I can't imagine, like, in worse hands, it would just be a train wreck.
Oh, exactly. Could you imagine if this was Colin's doctor? Come on. We'd get child.
Look, I'm not. I wasn't like.
Let's not bag on poor Colin.
Yeah. So
I'm kidding. I'm going to change the subject a little bit. You know who really stood up for me in this episode? Yes.
Yeah, I was impressed.
Yeah.
I was really impressed with Yaz in this one.
I agree.
As I mentioned before, she had a couple of great moments. One of which was she's the first to walk through the portal.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was awesome. She stood up. I loved it when you thought the Cybermen were going to capture Ryan and the other two humans, and it ended up being Yaz and Graham and our friends in the costumes, and it was just like Yaz was also first out there.
Yeah,
they were spotlighting her in this episode, and
I think a little clumsily with kind of Graham giving her that speech. That you really are very impressive, but I love the way she turned it around. It's like, you're not a bad human yourself. He's like, oi,
hey, that's all I get.
Yeah, I do wonder now, that if I mean, are we going to get in the next season? Is it the Doctor and Yaz continuing on, and what does the TARDIS look like?
Well,
yeah,
but I'm okay with that. I don't want to lose her, because I think, especially over the second half of this season, they've done great things.
Yeah, finally.
Yes,
exactly.
Yes.
So I would like to see her given another season to grow even more.
Yeah, I bet you that if it is just her, if the other two don't come back next season, that somebody will be there to replace them. I mean, along with Yaz, but I hope it's not. I mean, if it's one other person, it still might work. I hope to God it's not two other people.
Right.
Because it's just too much.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. That's just too many people.
Yeah. So I know that we speaking of other companions or past companions, I know we've been told that, Captain Jack wasn't going to be back this season, but kind of how useless did he wind up being? I know he was
didn't
really
even listen to his message.
He was I know he was there to distract, make people think, oh, that's the big reveal, and then be totally floored by the introduction of a new Doctor. But still, they could have had him make a cameo in the finale.
I couldn't see any place in the finale though where he would have fit in. It would have been shoehorned, but it is Chibnall, so
Yeah.
Maybe if they added another 30 minutes.
Right, yeah. It was already kind of overstuffed.
Yeah, but it does seem
what would have been funny? At the very end when the Doctor was in the prison and
he's in the cell next to her.
He was in the cell next to her.
That would have been awesome.
And he's like,
so you didn't listen to me, did you, Doc?
It still could happen.
Yeah, or maybe River's in the cell next to her.
Oh, promises.
Yeah, well, I think with the Doctor being in prison, and I don't know I know some people are speculating, but do we know for sure if that's shot out or not?
Ooh, I mean, the thought briefly crossed my mind, but I don't think that they necessarily bring that back.
Oh,
when it's something from an episode.
I think they would actually,
right,
but I don't know if they did.
But I don't think Chibnall is that
I don't think he's
slavish
that clever.
to continuity. The fact that he called this secret Time Lord organization is called the Division, when previously we had something called the Celestial Intervention Agency, and he could have used that.
But I mean, we're talking about the guy who brought back the Eternals.
That's just kind of a throwaway reference.
Right. And I think
it's kind of like it's kind of like the Macra being in Gridlock.
We're talking about a guy who solved a 44-year-old plot hole.
Yeah.
Come on. All hail Chibnall. Sorry, it's gonna go. It's gonna go on his gravestone. I'm kind of curious though. I mean, the way it ends, which I like it when Doctor Who ends on a cliffhanger. I like that very much so. It makes me excited for the next one. Although I'm curious because I'm like, okay, so she's in jail. We've got the Jadoon, and we know that the next one has to do with our second favorite bad guys, the Daleks again. And I'm like, okay, so how is this all going to work?
Yeah,
we're gonna have to wait and see. I assume Chibnall wrote it, so
I was relieved when the Jadoon showed up because I was like, "Oh, thank God, it's not the Master and his Cybermen."
Oh God!
It's funny because Kevin was napping while I was rewatching it, and he woke up and said, "Wow, space rhinos."
That sounds about right.
Yeah,
but now there's also 2 other TARDISes out there. Also.
Dude, there's a lot of TARDISes out there.
Oh, I know.
The Doctor left one as a tree. He said, implied that it's just going to stay there. But yeah, the other one's a house in 21st century England.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So
Graham and Ryan show.
Hey, and maybe they could run into a certain diner in space.
Exactly. Got a house going. We got a diner. We got a.
Next, we're going to have a fire station.
But so we still have, the human race mostly dying off in the cyber war, and then the remaining, the surviving humans going back in time. So what does that mean for the future?
Yeah, see, that's a plot hole.
Yeah, what were they going back in time? Or they just, I don't know where the portal was taking them. It wasn't taking them to Gallifrey, because if it was.
No, but I'm saying the last 2 of them.
The last 2 survivors and
the last 3, I guess, came back.
Oh, I see what you mean. Right,
to Earth,
but but all the refugees prior to that, went through the portal.
Exactly,
that's true. So
there's other humans out there still.
They're random.
Yeah, there's still other humans.
I forgot about that.
I can't chart the future. I don't know.
They change it so much anyway.
I imagine some people have done that. And
there have been books. The aforementioned Lance Parkin edited several versions of a volume about like trying to put all of Doctor Who history into one chronology.
Oh man, that's gotta be a nightmare. And I'm positive that no one, like any showrunner, has ever looked at that.
Maybe Chibnall is the one.
Because they just don't care.
Right.
There's so many times where we see a future Earth and it's getting destroyed or doing, whatever.
Well, yeah, just this season, we had the dregs as the possible future of humanity.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like, does this happen after Orphan?
And wasn't there something else in one other story? In Praxius? I'm not sure.
That's happened.
Another possible future for humanity.
Oh, Doctor Who has so many possible futures of humanity, and we don't even know when the cyber wars are.
That's true.
In relation to it, too. So,
well, I think we've gone off on several tangents.
Getting back to the finale, can I mention I dig Ko Sharmas?
Ko Sharmas was a cool character.
I liked him, and I was completely surprised by his appearance at the end, pleasantly so. Great way to use him, not to take away the Doctor's earnestness in trying to sacrifice herself, but
I was not surprised.
It was just a great out, and he just seemed like a cool character when he's kind of leading the troops into fighting the Cybermen on that and all that. He's just great. I know I've seen that actor.
So he was in Game of Thrones.
Oh yes, he was.
He was the original.
Yes, right.
Yeah, the chief of the Night's Watch.
Yes, yeah. Just a solid guy. Adds a lot of weight to whatever he does.
Yeah, he was very good.
He was a delight. I liked him a lot.
Mm-hmm. No, I liked a lot of the characters, the side characters. He was the best of the humans, though, because they started having the whole thing with the chemistry between Graham and that Ravio, I think it was.
Only in the first episode.
Right,
that went nowhere.
That went completely nowhere.
Maybe by the New Year's special they'll be dating.
Oh, they'll be living together.
Be married. Yeah.
So I guess
that's why he has to leave the TARDIS.
Right. So Graham, Ryan, and Yaz all think that the Doctor is dead.
Yes. But there's a lot of times on Doctor Who where the Doctor like just drops the companions off, and
it reminded me. I think it was Matt Smith's second Christmas special when Rory and Amy think that he's dead, but it's River who goes and tells them that he's still alive.
Yeah, cool. Well, they still think he was killed by the astronaut at that point,
right?
And so and I loved then Amy figures out that the Doctor's their son-in-law.
Yeah.
The look on Amy's face is just like, so it's pretty interesting. And so, I'm not surprised by the Doctor, leaving the companions to think that she's dead. Mm-hmm. But
she wouldn't have. She was about. She tells the TARDIS, "We'll go get them. Just give me a minute." And then, of course, the
Jadoon show up. And how about that? They're able to get into the TARDIS also.
Yeah, without any problem at all.
Exactly. It's like I thought the TARDIS was supposed to be impenetrable.
What did I say? I think we were talking about this with someone else, Mike. But I said, well, because of the companions are so remedial, she's forced to have a lot of options on the TARDIS that make it sort of more accessible to people.
Shielding is down or something like that. Exactly. It was just like
if she made it as difficult to get in as it was before, then her companions would never get in.
No. Good point. But it was just like seeing the Jadoon just pop up there in the ship. It was just like, what? It's like, no. Because there's so many other villains that have tried to get into the TARDIS over the years. And it's
think about it. But I don't know. I'm okay with it because Doctor Who, right?
Yeah.
it really reminds me of the end of all the Tenet ones, right?
Mhm.
Where like so many times like he would
what?
be the end of the season and like there's a ship coming through, or there's a bride on the
Yeah.
ship, or like
Yeah.
there's like or there's another doctor there. Like it just like people
Right,
were coming
became
in
a
the
joke.
Tens Doctor all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually was fine with that.
Yeah, hell, the June are fine. If they had the Titanic crash through, why not?
Yeah, what
If
did you
Donna
think?
Noble can get through.
What did you think of the Doctor being able to get out of the Matrix by overloading it with her memories?
She's done it before in the past. And so
Is that how Tom Baker got out in Deadly Assassin? I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Exactly. And yeah, that's exactly how. And I think she did it one other time also.
Well, the other time I can think of that the Doctor was in the Matrix was Trial of a Time Lord. And my memory is faulty at this point.
I try to block that out of my memory. So
I like at least 4 episodes of Trial of a Time Lord.
Okay. That totally makes sense. But yeah, there was a lot of, stuff in this, and that her breaking out of the Matrix was the least of my worries for this, story. And, and I didn't hate the story. I did not. And I know there's people who are livid about it. And there's people who are starting, petitions and blah, 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 and the negativity that I'm seeing continue it's just getting old. It really is.
Yeah, that's why I'm just very selective about what I read and what I listen to. And it's kind of whittled down to just a few that I know will be.
Oh, there's a couple Doctor Who podcasts.
Straightforward about it. Yeah.
There's a couple Doctor Who podcasts that I've actually stopped subscribing to because of the negativity and everything, and it's just crazy. So thank you, those at home who are sticking with us.
Yeah,
we love you.
Are you not listening to Earth Station Who because of my negativity?
No.
Yep, we're one of the podcasts he's dropped.
Yeah. No, I think that even
Faber has not subscribed to the Earth Station Who,
right? Anymore. But I do listen to it, and I think that we're honest about what we like and what we don't like, and that's all that you can ask for.
Yeah, and
and I've said many times, like I don't hate the show. Mm-hmm. I'm not a hater.
You're not a hater.
Not liking it. I'm not one of those persons that really enjoys not liking something and picking something apart. And I just want better. I want better for Doctor Who. I do, and I just wish it was like really exciting me and firing on all cylinders like it has in the past.
Yeah.
And I hope that it still can. I certainly didn't see anything in this finale that that ruined the show for me.
Right. For me, this finale excited me a lot more than the last couple. Even, I was a Moffat apologist for most of his run, but I really disliked the last Capaldi season. I thought it was.
I did not like it at all.
Sure. It was disjointed, and I did not like that finale. Although I like Capaldi a lot, but I felt like things really fell apart in that last season. So this is the first finale in a few years that I did react really positively to.
No, I agree completely with we said it on the series. I was not a fan of Bill's at all on it, and I was sad because I really wanted to like her.
Yeah, I did like her,
really...
but I thought she got, I just thought she got a raw deal. I did like the actress, and I did like the character.
I liked what ended up happening with her, but if I have to see that damn pyramid story ever again...
Right. Yeah, it was like the longest 5 years of my life.
Exactly. But yeah, so, and there's stories with Jodie's that I don't care if I ever see again. But I also am very happy that we got some good ones this season. The Tesla one, then we'll talk about all that when we do our season wrap up in a couple weeks and such. But this one, do I think it's the best final? No, not by far. Did I hate it? No, not by far. But I think we have, we have a way to go to, to showcase Jodie the way she needs to be showcased as a doctor. I think we have a long way to go still. I think we've seen glimpses of it, and it's not her, and I do not blame her. I blame what's surrounding her, and she deserves better. But that's just me and everything.
Not just you.
I know, talking. But I'm glad you guys agree with that. And, that's one of the things I think that makes this podcast go is we're all like-minded. And if we don't like it, we don't bash the person because they didn't like it or whatever. And there's shows out there that are doing that. And it pisses the hell out of me because I always thought Doctor Who fans, growing up, I thought we were very far and few in between. And now, me being a person who's midlife, God, that sounds awful. But there's Doctor Who fans everywhere and loving it. And that alone makes me want to watch the show forever, type thing, knowing that there's so many like-minded people.
Yeah.
And then being able to work with like-minded people like you guys makes it even more of a plus.
Yeah, I can't think of anything they could do that would make me say, okay, that's it. I'm not watching anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I still absolutely love Doctor Who. Even though this was not my favorite episode, I will be watching at New Year's and next year and looking forward to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I certainly don't. Look, I'm not going to suggest, I'm not going to say, there's nothing they could do that would quit me from watching Doctor Who, because then Chibnall will be like, hold my pint.
Take that as a challenge. Challenge accepted.
So you say, Mr. Mike.
So I'm like, no, don't do that.
Mike Gordon single-handedly destroyed Doctor Who.
All right, I can think of I remember when the rumors about the TV movie, or even before the TV movie, that David Hasselhoff was going to play the Doctor. And that
well, now he could.
And yeah, maybe he is the Doctor. And that the other thing that I remember that stuck with me is that the TARDIS was going to have like holographic lips floating above it that would talk and rap. Sorry to leave you with that image, but that's something that's stuck with me ever since the early 2000s.
Wow.
Why did you put that in my brain?
I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
You sure that wasn't the Michael Jackson Doctor?
Yeah, because I had heard about that. That would just be horrifying.
Yeah.
Oh man. But yeah.
Well, there was the Lenny Henry Doctor in the comedy sketch, and then he showed up in Spyfall this year.
That's true.
Now his Doctor is canon too, probably.
Oy.
Okay, should we rate it?
Okay, boss. You go first.
Ooh, I'm a boss. I give it a 4 overall, the 2-parter.
Okay. That's not bad.
It sounds a little high, but I think that's where I'm landing right now.
Fair enough. All right, Mikey.
As a 2-parter, because we didn't really rate it last time. Look, I still think that the execution was not ideal. Like I said, everything that happened in the first part just seemed like it was irrelevant and ignored in the second. So I'm just going to give it a solid 3. I'll give it. You know what? I'll give it a 3.5. I'll give it a 3.5. And for that half, if BBC wants to send me some 5.5-inch scale figures of those cyber Time Lords or whatever, I will gladly take those off people's hands, because I thought they were kind of cool looking. So
Okie dokie there. Totally makes sense. All right, Mary.
Well, before I rate it, I promised my mother I'm going to leave you with the words of my 82-year-old mother, who this is what she said after watching the finale. She's been a fan of Doctor Who since they started showing it on PBS in the 70s, and her words were, "Someone should make Chris Chibnall go stand in the corner."
Wow. I love it.
But I will say I liked the first of the two-parter. I would probably give that a 4, and this one I would probably give a 3. So I'll average it out to a 3.5.
Okay, I think that's totally fair. I think that's totally fair. All right, I'm going to give the two-parter a 4. I thought the first part was pretty strong. The Cybermen part I really enjoyed, and I liked a lot of the interaction between all the humans, and then what the Doctor was doing, and I like how Graham and Yaz stood up. We talked about it last week. Listen to the episode. I'm not going to repeat myself. But I did think I think we got a lot of good stuff from this, and I did like a lot of what we got. But with the second parter, I'll give it a 3.5. There was things I didn't like. I think they took some easy ways out. If I ever see a Cybermen again, I will literally rip that collar off of him if I see him at a convention. So beware. But I did, I enjoyed it. And like I said, the Ruth scene made it for me. I also really enjoyed Yaz in this one. And if any of the 3 companions stay, and there's rumors going around, folks, we're not going to talk about that right now. Once it becomes concrete, we'll talk about it. But as of right now, if, she's the one who stays, I'll be happy about that. If Yaz is the one who stays, we all love, Graham. He's awesome. Graham could do no wrong. So, Graham walks on water for us on this show. So, I think if Graham stays, I'd be happy with that. Hell, I'd like to see Graham and Yaz. Those were some of the best scenes this season when they teamed the two of them up. And, those are just my thoughts. And Jodie, I want to see, I hope Jodie stays past the 3 years or the 3 seasons. I would love to see her with a different showrunner in a heartbeat. And I hope we get that. I really do, because I'd like to see her with better written stories, better plots, and such. I think she could handle it. I really do. So here's to hoping. Thank you guys very much at home for listening to us rant and rave about all this one. We definitely would love to hear from you. Please write us at earthstationwho@esonetwork.com. We want to hear all what you guys think about this. And, we're going to be at some conventions in the next couple of weeks. We're going to be at Mike and I will be at Toylanta. Mike and I will be at South Carolina Comic-Con. Stop by our tables and, definitely, we'd love to talk to you guys about this. We definitely would love to hear from you. And guys, our next episode is going to be the season 10 wrap up. And we're going to have 10-minute segments with everyone who guessed on our podcast this season. So, all of the different people we had on the shows are going to talk about what their thoughts on the season was. We want to hear from you. If you guys want to write us, we'll read your emails up on the podcast. Or if you guys want to send me a audio, no more than 5 minutes though, because, I don't think you'll be able to really fit that into, email. But, record a little segment. Tell me your thoughts on this. We'll play it up on the air. We definitely would love to hear from you. And don't worry, we're going to be still coming to you guys, throughout the wander years again, and we'll probably have a few of you guys up on the show picking some of your favorite episodes. We got a lot of stuff planned all the way through Dragon Con right now, so that's in September. So we got plenty of time, and man, we need to fill it. So send us your ideas. Send us whatever you guys want. We definitely would love to hear from you guys. Felicity, thank you so much for joining us for these 2 episodes.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure.
And anything you want to promote?
Actually, I've been guesting on Flopcast a little bit more frequently. I did a 2 episode recently with Kevin talking about movie theaters, and then the most recent episode and next week we're having a 2-part discussion about TV of the 1980s, or actually the TV of 1980, the TV shows that premiered that year.
I just listened to that today. It was awesome.
Me too, actually.
And just recently on Reality Bomb, which is a monthly Doctor Who podcast, I actually played a villain in their long-running Spoiler Cops comedy sketch. So that was fun.
That's awesome. That really sounds awesome. Well, and it's always great to have you on the show. And we'll have you back again before the next season.
All right. Sounds good.
Of course. Let's thank my co-hosts or my partners on the show, who I couldn't do the show without. Mr. Mike Gordon, thank you.
As always, it's my pleasure.
And, of course, Miss Mary.
Thank you so much. I can't believe we've gone through another season.
It's pretty amazing, actually, that we just went through another one. And we hadn't killed each other, which is pretty cool.
Not yet.
And now I could finally get some sleep and not worry what Mike Gordon is thinking about the
It's been keeping us all up at night.
Oh, very much so. So, as I always like to say, I worry. So it's pretty cool. And you know what, folks? These 2 people I do the show with, it is so great that we get along, we melded, with the show and everything. And you know what? I'm looking forward to doing whatever Doctor Who projects come along with these guys. It's just always great. And you know what? Couldn't do it without you guys also at home. So thank you, as we like to say. And we will see you here next time on Earth Station Who. Peace. And we are done. See you next time.
You have been listening to Earth Station Who, a bi-weekly pop culture podcast dedicated to all things Doctor Who, featuring talent from across the universe. All topics on the show are the sole opinions of the individual and are used for entertainment value alone. You subscribe to our podcast up on iTunes, Stitcher, or follow our blog at www.esopodcast.com. You can also follow us up on Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. If you enjoyed the show, please leave feedback up on iTunes.
Check out what's been going on with the Pop Culture Cosmos Show and the PCC Multiverse.
The better that these Marvel films do, the higher the standards are going to be for not just other films in general, but other Marvel films also.
I think it's really hard to end a show with this many fans in a satisfying way.
That's the Pop Culture Cosmos Show.
And the PCC Multiverse.
Playing worldwide on radio 7 days a week and right here on the ESO Network.
But I will miss Bradley Walsh.
Oh, of course. Everyone misses Graham.
He should have his own show.
It should be. Dr. Graham. He has a TARDIS now, so why not?
Yeah, maybe that's how they leave. They just go off in the other TARDIS.
Exactly.
It's true.
I mean,
somebody has to live in that house.
Yeah, it's just sitting there.
I think our refugees from the future.
Exactly. That's their home.
In it.
The fun-filled adventures.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping through Amazon.com or the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.